This right here gonna be a cakewalk.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today I want to talk about Netflix and Tekken Bloodline. There's a lot of crazy things happening in the news right now surrounding Netflix, and it is worrying me about how Tekken Bloodline will unfold. Everyone in the Tekken community is on the edge of their seats to see the show. Taking place in Tekken 3, expanding upon the lore, giving us more of an insight into Ogre, Jun Kazama. Everything we've seen so far looks good. Yes, there's some nitpicks here and there. There's some things here and there that we want to see unfold. But right now, everyone just wants to know more. And boy, oh boy, Netflix is doing a real good job of killing the hype just for their whole platform in general. For those of you who don't know, Netflix just had their shareholder meeting. Basically, that's where they talk about stocks. That's where they talk about how the company is performing, how they think it's going to perform, competition. They talk about growth. In America, for American companies, they want to see a bigger and bigger and bigger increase. That's why a lot of these companies and a lot of these franchises be so greedy, because that's the only way to please the shareholders is by every year increasing and growing the profits, right? And Netflix was doing that for a very long time. They were successful. Not only successful, they were the best. But things are starting to change, and it's changing very, very fast. At their shareholder meeting, they announced Netflix loses 200,000 subscribers in Q1 and expects to lose 2 million more in Q2. That is insane. From 200,000 to 2 million in less than a year. And what even makes it worse, last year, HBO Max, their biggest competitor, I would say HBO Max is putting out top tier content. They are definitely giving Netflix a run for their money. And when you talk about Bloodline series, Tekken Bloodline, I was saying it's either HBO Max or Netflix that's going to get it. And I was praying it would be HBO Max because they're just the stronger company right now. But Netflix got it. They have a good track record with making shows, but it's just what they do after the fact. The same time they announced 200,000 loss, expecting 2 million to lose, HBO Max, they announced they added 13 million subscribers last year. And for those of you who know about stocks, you guys know what happens next. Netflix stocks began to tank, and tank very, very hard. Reading some headlines, Netflix shares crater 20% after the company reports its lost subscribers for the first time in more than 10 years. Netflix closes down 35%, wiping more than 5 billion off market cap. A billionaire investor, Bill Ackman, loses 400 million as he dumps his entire Netflix stake after just 3 months. These are big numbers. This is nothing to scoff at. When you look at the Netflix stock, 5 days ago, you can see this big dip on April 20th. If you take a step back and you look at 6 months, you can see a big dip in February of 2022. Now, I don't know what happened in February for Netflix. I have no clue. If you look at a year, kind of the same thing. If you look at the entire span of their stock, you kind of see what's happening with the company. It's collapsing so hard. 2008, 2014 is in probably like 2017, they're riding high. 2020, doing extremely well. And then now they're crashing so hard. The thing about stocks, when a company is doing bad, people bet against it. People bet money that the company will continue to do bad. Kind of like GameStop. I don't know if you guys paid attention to that when that was going on last year or a year and a half ago. But when a company is doing bad, people bet against it. And now people are profiting off the failures of Netflix. They first lost money on it succeeding, so now they're betting against it to make their money back. Stocks is a very cold world. That's why I don't get involved. Now, this is where we talk a little bit more about Tekken Bloodline. Well, loosely, we could use this information as a reference to how maybe that show will unfold. The headline here says Netflix can't renew your favorite shows, but it can spend $30 million per episode on Stranger Things. Now, Stranger Things right now is carrying Netflix so hard. I don't know why people like the show. I watched the first season, and it was okay, but it just was not as good as they're making it seem. $30 million an episode, I feel like that's way out of budget. That's so unnecessary. But if it's like right now, Netflix is desperate. They need a hit. And that's why I think Tekken Bloodline is so important. If the Tekken community really rallies behind it and a lot of people check it out, we possibly can get many seasons. But also, if not, it probably will get canceled after one season and it will be lost to history. Another thing Netflix is doing to combat their losses, it's a very odd decision, but they're adding commercials. They created a new tier to their subscription service graph, or whatever you want to call it. And now there is a bracket in there where they have commercials. And that's how they want to make up on some of the profit loss, which I think is a horrible way, because all the way up until this point, Netflix has been one of the only streaming platforms that, because up until this point, Netflix was one of the streaming services who started the whole no commercials thing. They really pulled a lot of people away from TV because TV is flooded with commercials, flooded with garbage, and Netflix it changed all of that. So to see them adding commercials and to see them doing a lot of these other things I'm going to discuss in a second, it's like you can see why it's collapsing. 12,000 upvotes on this. There is nothing on Netflix I'd be willing to sit through ads for. And I would agree on this. Minus Tekken Bloodline, there's nothing else on there that I'm really interested in seeing. Arcane Season 2 is another good one, but I don't think that can carry the show either. Another huge catastrophe right now. And this one is really the biggest for me, me personally. Netflix is kind of cutting down on the password sharing. They view this as another reason why the company is doing bad. Now this just shows how delusional they really are. It says Netflix new password sharing fee is just a tip of an iceberg. Their style of making shows and just throwing them at the wall with no sort of marketing or no sort of commitment really is biting them. Netflix is still a giant, still a juggernaut, and they really could turn it around. What I think they would need to do in order to do so is, one, they would need to lower the price. Two, I think they should start releasing their episodes on a weekly basis. The style of dumping all the content at once was good in the past, to be able to binge watch a bunch of content, but now I think that's hurting them. Now I think that the fact that people can binge watch the whole season of Arcane, the whole season of Squid Game all at once, the whole season of Tiger King, it's like people burn through that content so quickly, and then they don't touch Netflix. They forget about it or they cancel it, right? They cancel it until their favorite season is put out 2 years later, is then they're back. And it's like, if they were to release it on a weekly basis like HBO Max did with Euphoria, like Disney Plus does with Star Wars and with Marvel and stuff like that, one that will draw out the hype. Releasing weekly gets more people on board, gets more people invested into the story, invested into the plot. And then the finale is something special that everyone can experience all at once. But at the same time, when you dump it all at once, it comes and goes. And that's why Tekken Bloodline, I was thinking about it. I would want Tekken Bloodline to release on a weekly basis. Like the first episode, 1 week. Next week, the second. Next week, the third. And I just feel like that would be so much better in terms of the longevity. We can hyper focus on one episode, talk about it with all our friends, and then anticipate the next release. The model that they use to get on top to dominate the past generation is not the same model that they're going to need for the future. And the way they're going about it right now is doing nothing but making me worry about Tekken Bloodline. I already have no faith in them doing a season 2. I feel like this season that we're going to get right now in 2022 is going to be it. This is going to be all we have, and if it's good, it's good. We can celebrate it and we could talk about it for years and years and years. But if it's bad, it's going to hurt, and it's going to hurt very badly. But this is it. This is the current state of Netflix. Losing a bunch of subscribers, charging extra, being password greedy, or whatever you want to call it. They really have to get it together. And another thing too, they have to start canceling their shows. They cancel so many shows to where it's hard to get invested. It's hard to have faith in them. So many great shows that they have made, have created, and in the past, I just wondered, when are they going to announce a season 2? When are they going to announce a season 3? And then to find out years later that the show just was canceled because it didn't make enough money, because they went over budget, or it's just, they need to figure it out. Well, really, I actually don't care if they figure it out. I just want Tekken Bloodline to be out so we can watch it, we can enjoy it, and then we could distance ourselves from Netflix. Because right now, Tekken is kind of attached to it. The identity, the story, it has to go smoothly. But that's it. I just want to talk about this because I think it's an important discussion to be had. Even though it's not directly tied to Tekken, the fact that Tekken is getting one of its first anime shows in the past 2 decades, it's definitely very, very important for us, right? But that's it. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you found it informational at least. See you next time. Bye bye.